Okay, so I'm here with Professor Russell Walker, who is offering the Analytics Consulting Lab next quarter. Thank you for being here, Professor Walker. Like we discussed, the Data and Analytics Club at Foster is brand new, but we're hoping to offer one of these elective perspectives event each quarter to help students learn about what the available analytics electives are for the upcoming quarter. So I have a few questions I wanted to ask you about the Analytics Consulting Lab. But first, could you just give us a summary of kind of how you conceive of the class? What do you think it's offering? Just whatever you want to say about it.
I appreciate that. Appreciate everyone's interest in the class. The origin of the class is got a really interesting history. So I started this class about 14 years ago when I was teaching at the Kellogg School of Management. And at the time, lab classes, as we called them, or experiential classes, were new not just to us, but in the MBA curriculum. And over the years, I found that MBA students at Kellogg, and I brought that class here, now really enjoy and value the opportunity to apply analytical skills on real world projects. So what this class will be about is a team of MBA students working with my assistants on a real world project. And there's not an answer, it's not a case, it's a real company, a supportive company. And I have to say, I personally find these journeys immensely interesting, intellectually stimulating. I think you will too. We got some great companies, and it's a wonderful opportunity to apply what you study here at Foster, but also I think to create a point of differentiation in your resume, in your experience, a talking point, something that can give you perhaps even confirmation if you want to do more of this in your career, and certainly broaden your network. So lots of upside as far as I see it.
Great. One place we can start, this is in your syllabus, and we're going to make sure to distribute that with this video just so to make sure
Great.
everyone's able to have a look at it. But you have a really interesting section of the syllabus where I think the question is like, what do you mean by analytics? And that's something that we have thought about a lot as we start up this club. It's a buzzy word right now that can mean different things, I think. But yeah, from your perspective, like, what does the Analytics and Analytics Consulting Lab refer to?
Well, it refers to exercising a project with a company who has at its core a question that requires measurement and analysis. And I know I'm saying this very broadly and purposefully so. Some of the projects will certainly require regression. Some will require market measurement and empirical analysis. So when I think of analytics, I don't necessarily demand or expect multivariate regression or logistic regression. Those are possible tools. And in fact, every project is unique, and what you would do in one project, or what a team would do rather, I would guide them and give them advice. And sometimes we don't need all of that. Sometimes empirical analysis, or percentile analysis, say, is sufficient for making good decisions. And so in this class, we'll do a combination of both descriptive and predictive. And every project has a unique flavor. There are some that have what I consider market measurement challenges, where assembly of data and then some analysis on that data is critical. And I incorporate those kind of projects here in analytics as well.
Great. One thing that I think is on the mind of the first year full-time MBAs in our second quarter right now is that we're currently in our applied strategy projects, which is, you're helping to head that up as well.
Yep.
And those are consulting projects in their own right. What would you say to a student who is wondering, like, what is the difference between these two things? What additional value add would there be from Analytics Consulting Lab, or just how would it be a different experience?
That's a really good question. So let me say a few things are similar. First of all, I'm the same, though in the Analytics Consulting Lab, we get much more time together. So the rhythm that I propose is we meet weekly, more intensively. My orientation is the same in that I'm really there to coach you, to help you. I don't have quizzes or tests, and I mean this most sincerely. I'm not there to trick you, but rather to help you through this journey. And then, of course, our projects are significantly more analytical. They involve measurement, they involve prediction, description, analytical tools, and they will probably have some flavor of marketing or some flavor of operations, but the emphasis is more on the analysis.
Yeah, and I guess a follow-up question to that would be, this is I believe it's technically a marketing elective, right? So,
Yeah.
do you think of the skills conferred as specific to marketing or, mainly concentrated in marketing, or is it broader than that?
It's broader than that, though almost all of the problems that we have touch marketing and say, why might that be the case? Well, marketing is where you generate revenue, at least in companies, you recognize revenue in the marketing department. And because of that, a lot of the value from analytics is housed in marketing. I happen to be in the marketing department, which means that the chairman, who supports this class immensely, thinks it belongs in the marketing department, and I appreciate the support. But there are some projects that have an operations flavor, and of course, all of the projects will raise questions of strategy and raise questions associated with. You can think about Michael Porter's five forces or something like that. So there's always a component like that. How do I enter or change a place in the market? But our approach is a very analytical approach.
Gotcha. Um, you know, I think some of the things we hear from foster students a lot when we're talking about analytics in terms of the skills that they want exposure to or to eventually master, we hear a lot about R and SQL and Tableau. And, those are things that are covered to some extent in various different analytics focused courses throughout the foster course catalog or curriculum. Now, analytics consulting lab is an applied course. It's not a lecture course. So I'm wondering if you can speak a little bit to like how you view this course as fitting into the larger analytics curriculum at Foster, and also what would you say to a student who wonders whether they have the analytics experience to do this course now? Is this the right time for them to take it? Do you think students should take other analytics courses first? That sort of thing.
Okay, well, the class is designed to be appropriate for anyone who's taken the introductory statistics class. So I believe you guys take that in the first term, as I understand. So I don't expect anyone to have advanced skills. If there is something that the team needs, I'm very happy to provide that guidance. And as I said, they're all project specific, but that we'll address that, I guess, is what I'm suggesting at a team level. In terms of the skills, we're really fortunate, I think, here at Foster. So not everyone finds becoming an R programmer or SQL programmer necessarily attractive or even easy. And I totally appreciate that. This class does not demand that of you. I do think, pardon me, that that Tableau has become much more user friendly over the last few years. And it's very powerful. And so I really encourage people to use our site license and to try to build some skills in Tableau. For instance, this is a great class to exercise that. We will do work that almost certainly requires some spreadsheet skills. And you're not graded on any of these things. Of course, I'm happy to give tips and guidance and help the team through the analysis. And you work on it as a team. So you don't have to be a star R programmer, and it's not even clear that all of projects even require that level of programming. So if you're interested or you have a question, you just reach out to me about a particular project. But it is also a great place to practice all of that. So if you did take your class, you learned a little R, and you said, hey, I'd like to spend some more time with it. I'd like to spend more time with Tableau. I think these projects are a wonderful place to do that.
Great. Let's talk a little bit more about the teams and kind of the team dynamic here.
Mhm.
Is it the case that you end up with uh, like students on some of these teams who are more advanced in certain analytics techniques who are then helping to teach those things to their team members? Like, is that one of the learning modalities here? And is that something you take into consideration when forming the teams, however that process works?
Well, it almost always works that way. I mean, you're exactly right on. There's variation in experience, and inevitably we have some that can lead and share some experience in that area, and frankly, some who can share expertise in consulting or presentation. And so I do generally look at people's interest. And when you apply, you share with me what you'd like to contribute to the class in terms of your strengths and where you'd like to grow. So this is not an application that you must meet requirements, but rather, as you just said, finding a good balance for a team so that the team would be successful with the project, but everyone on the project would be able to grow as well.
Great. And then could you explain how how this timeline works in terms of like bidding for the class, being admitted to the class, seeing the list of available projects, picking a project, and ending up in a team? Oh, I think you're frozen for a second. Hopefully, Russell's coming back momentarily.
How's that, Ben? Am I
Oh,
back?
yeah, I lost you for a second. Did you hear my question?
I did. Yeah, it must have
Okay,
just been internet instability.
yeah,
So
go for it.
um, the very specifics of bidding are not clear to me. I mean, they follow whatever guidance comes from the school. So I would defer to that. What I seek from the students to form teams where everybody's interest is respected and met is a little bit about yourself, whatever you like to share, your goals, and then of course your top two projects. I do my very best to honor everyone's top choice. Rarely do we have to do a second choice, and I really not try to make people choose third, but almost always it works out. We have more projects than we could fill, so inevitably you have a bounty of projects to select from. And then as soon as I get that information from the registrar, I quickly process it and send it back to the students and say, here's the projects that you know you've chosen, and other people who've done the same, and these are the teams that appear to be best. And then I ask that the people confirm. So the projects are available right now on the syllabus, the candidate projects. And so when you take the class, I would highly encourage you to look at it and be sure that there's at least one project that you would really like to take. And when I ask for that information, share that. I am certainly not trying to hold anybody back or prevent anyone from getting a top choice. If we can't honor a first choice just because a project is very popular, then worth having a second one in mind. And that's just a matter of logistics. But you'll get that information from me as quickly as I can process it.
Perfect. Yeah, and like I mentioned, we're gonna circulate the syllabus, and the projects are listed on there so everyone can see them.
The other thing I would say, because the team experience, as you pointed out, is really instrumental, it is similar in some ways to the applied strategy class. But in this class, I welcome students to perhaps even bring teams. So if you say, I know a couple people that I work really well with, and I could work with Ben, and Ben could teach me something about R. Well, I welcome that. So to the extent that you might share or have team preferences, and I can honor those, I absolutely encourage that. So you might want to reach out to your friends, your classmates who might have similar interest, and then let me know that you guys would like to do a project together.
Excellent. And then could you just say a little bit about like what are you looking for when you're soliciting projects for this course? Like, you want a breadth of different kinds of projects, or like what makes a good partner for an applied strategy or for an analytics consulting lab project?
Yeah, it's a good question. And I spend a lot of time on this, and having done it many years before coming here to Foster, I have a few things that are important to me. First of all, the companies need to be understanding and appreciative that you're all taking this as a class. So although there is a work product that they are very much interested in, this is not a consulting company. We don't run it that way. You're here to learn and grow and develop, and I support all of that. And I look for companies that have that same mentality. And thankfully, I have quite a few in some of these companies we've worked with many years, so they understand that. Indeed, many of them are alums of Foster or through my network from Kellogg and Chicago and other places that I've worked. So they value the approach that the class takes, also value the work product. They have realistic expectations for that. They, as individuals, are committed to providing the team time on a weekly basis to meet. So those features are really important to me. Some of the companies are big ones, like ones you recognize, say Microsoft and Alaska Airlines. And then Others might be ones that you haven't heard of before, but they all pass those tests, and they're all people that I've spoken to, worked with, and received that same level of commitment from.
Great. And do the contact points within these companies, do these tend to be people who are um, like leveraging analytics techniques in their roles and they want to work with the students on that, or are they looking for insights that they maybe have not been able to extract themselves?
Some of both, actually. So some of the individuals will be, for instance, a director of analytics and marketing. So they do this in a very deep way, and the team will be contributing perhaps in a project or a set of questions that they've not been able to approach, either from a logistical perspective or timing perspective. And then others are leaders in their industry, but they don't have an analytics team, and they very much value that contribution that the team can make. And so in both situations, you get to learn and grow. And there are some really fascinating domains. We get to touch sports analytics and airlines and startups and food companies. So there's a good variety as well.
Great. Another question I had, I'm not sure if you can speak to this, so let me know. My understanding is that right now, Analytics Consulting Lab is not on the list of courses that count towards the STEM designation at Foster. And some of the information I received early on, I think, is that this class was still brand new at the same time the STEM designation was brand new. But I'm wondering if you know anything about that or anything about whether this is likely to count towards the STEM designation in the future.
I don't know, and you saying that is actually news to me. It would surprise me that the school would not support it, though I'm not the one who decides. And if you and I could follow up on that, I would love to get it in front of the right people. I know the school is immensely supportive of the class, and I suspect that they would very much welcome having it as part of that major.
Yeah, no, I think we should try to work on that because I think it makes a lot of sense. Um, I mean, I guess what I would end with is, this is a bit of a broader question, and feel free to take it in whatever direction you want. But one of the things that we have observed and certainly experienced as new MBAs is, I think a lot of us are interested in analytics, and we want to pick up analytics skills, and we know that we're going to need them in the workplace, but it's a little bit difficult to envision or understand exactly what that is going to look like in our post MBA roles. All of us are kind of going for a wide variety of different roles across industries. Analytics are present and necessary in all of them, but in different ways. And so I'm wondering, can you share any insights or experiences, whether from Analytics Consulting Lab or more broadly, of like ways that these skills that we are picking up in this class specifically have differentiated students going into the workplace, situations in which they've used them, that sort of thing?
That's a really good question. And I think in many ways, this class does provide the students a opportunity to practice what you might do in a career. And this can be one that helps you define perhaps a career direction, maybe get some confirmation if you would like to do that. This class is not necessarily a data science class in that everyone is expected to write a lot of R code, for instance. And let me say that companies now, I think, delineate between what analytical skills an MBA should do versus what a data scientist should do. There may be some overlap, but as a company becomes larger and it separates those roles, I think there's a clearer boundary, frankly. Um, I would expect, and I think the market would too, that presentation of analytical skills, um, an understanding of an analytical approach, actually using data to come to some conclusions. I think those skills are very much within the expectation of an MBA. And this is where I think learning Tableau and, frankly, doing data visualization is very attainable. It shouldn't feel as painful perhaps as a large amount of coding. And this class doesn't require that you code necessarily. And so this is where I think you can even use the class as an opportunity to sample. Is that what you want to do? Do you want to spend more time doing that? And if you do, there are lots of classes, and I'm not trying to, sell you a new degree or sell you, more classes online. But if you say, I really want to be hyper analytical. I want to be the go-to, person for data science on my team. Well, probably you need more, follow-up skills in that, and this might be, an area that gives you a sense of that. I'm not advocating that, but I'm saying as an MBA, I think understanding that well enough will provide you what you need at that right level. I've had a lot of students take this class, especially at Kellogg, and tell me that it was instrumental in helping them get jobs in various ways. And I know this sounds a little bragging, but I don't mean it this way. But I rather mean it as how you might think about this experience. You can feature it, of course, on your resume. You should. It gives you an opportunity to say you had experience with a company, experience doing analytics, running a project, leading a project, working with a company, and then also it gives a sense of accomplishment, right? So when you're talking about a project in your interview, what was the conclusion? What did you find? And let me say, in none of these projects do we know the answer. They are real world projects. The journey and the end is for you to determine with my help. And so I'm just saying it's led to quite a few job placements for many of the alumni of my class.
That's great. Yeah, I think it's something that a lot of us are excited about, and I think this conversation really will prove useful to people. So, like I said, we're going to circulate this. We're going to circulate the syllabus. You mentioned that you welcome students reaching out to you with questions.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, thank you very much for your time. We really appreciate
Thank
it.
you, Ben. Hey, thanks to everyone with interest in the class. If you need anything, would like to talk about it, just reach out. Happy to talk about it.
Great. Thanks, Russell.
You're welcome. Take care, Ben.
Bye.